Today on the Brad Link, we're talking all about tips on dealing with small kids in your wedding party. Today on the Brad Link, we're talking all about how to manage having small children in your wedding party. If you have an adorable niece or nephew and you just can't wait to see him in a little flower girl dress or tuxedo, but you're a little stressed that they might not make it down the aisle, we definitely have some tips for you. First and foremost, you need to try to limit the number of small children in your wedding party. I know it seems adorable to have 3 flower girls and 2 ring bearers, all under the age of 4, walk down the aisle, but odds are they're not going to make it. The less number of children you have, the less stress you will have about getting them down the aisle. Typically, I say anybody below the age of 4 is a wild card. And no matter what they're going to do, guests always think it's adorable, even throwing a fit in the middle of the aisle. Trust me, I've seen it. But having just a few or maybe just 1 or 2 children in your wedding party will most definitely make you feel less stressed, and you're more successful when they make it down the aisle than having a large group. So when you're considering which kids to ask to be part of your wedding party, you want to make sure that you consider their ages and their personalities. Like I said, anybody under the age of 4 is a wild card, and even if they're well behaved, they might be overwhelmed with the number of people looking at them when they're getting ready to walk down the aisle, and they might freak out, or they might be too shy and turn right back around to where I'm standing as the wedding planner. Considering their personalities is also important. Normally well-behaved children are probably your best bet. If you have a wild child that you absolutely love and adore, but they're usually screaming and running around during your family occasions, they might not make the best ring bearer or flower girl. When you're considering who to choose, you could also consider if there's like an older sister or older brother above the age of 4, like maybe between 7 and 10, that might be able to participate as well. Typically, if there's a loved one that they know that can walk with them, children under 4 are more likely to walk down the aisle instead of going in a completely opposite direction. Now, the day of the wedding, you want to make sure that the kids that are in the wedding party arrive as late as possible. So definitely talk about the timing of your photos with your photographer to make sure that they're in the pictures, but that they don't have to be there too early. You want to make sure that they have time for a nap and that they've been fed before they come on site. That way they're in a good mood. Also, you need to put on their fancy clothes as late as possible. Oftentimes they're not used to being that dressed up. The shoes might be a little uncomfortable. The tights or the dress might be a little too tight, and it might make them fussy. So keeping them in comfy clothes is probably best until the very last moment. I've even seen some parents change their cute little kids into pajamas later during the reception just to make sure that they're in a good mood. Also, having an adult stand by can really help with the situation of getting them down the aisle. As a wedding planner, I typically choose a point person, and that person knows if the little kid has any sort of malfunction or any type of temper tantrum, that adult knows that they are specifically the one to scoop them up and take them away from the ceremony. When we're planning the ceremony seating, we make sure that that adult has easy access to the child and the exit. Having that adult stand by during the processional and making sure that the child walks is also key to success if you have a kid that's under 4 or if they have problems walking. Talk it over with the adult and make sure that you're okay with if the kid's not going to make it, the adult can scoop them up and walk down the aisle holding them. You need to set up realistic expectations first and foremost. If you're looking at a toddler that can barely walk and trying to see if they're going to be able to walk down the aisle with you, it might be a little bit rough. If they're having trouble walking on a typical Tuesday, when they have 100 people staring at them outdoors on a hot Saturday, they definitely might not make it. So make sure that you keep your expectations realistic, and you can also think of cute little things like having their older brother pull them in a cute little wagon, which is something I've seen before. Also, there's always Robbery. As a wedding planner, I usually recommend bringing a small bag of M&Ms or Skittles, anything that can be tiny little pieces, showing it to the little child right before you walk down the aisle and letting them know if they do a good job, they can have some of it as soon as the ceremony is over. Typically what we do is we try to make sure that the small children do not have to stand up at the front during the ceremony the entire time. They're most likely going to fidget, whine, crawl, and do anything but stand still. And so what we'll do, if they're under the age of 4 or 5, is have an adult in the front row that they're going to sit with. That way they can walk down the aisle, but then get comfortable with the rest of the audience. If you've decided to bribe them with candy such as Skittles or M&Ms, this is also the perfect time to give them a little tiny piece of candy, piece by piece, throughout the entire ceremony in case they start whining. Now, more than anything, you want to make sure that the kids feel comfortable. Start planning ahead. Give them the flower basket a month in advance and tell them what an important job it is and how good they're going to do. And start having them practice throughout the house. You could also do this with a ring box or a ring bearer pillow. During the rehearsal, make a big deal about them walking down the aisle. Have everybody clap in celebration if they make it. That way they feel extra proud and they can make you proud on your wedding day. For more expert wedding planning advice, follow us on thebridelink.com.